Hello, everyone. Welcome to Testing Stage Conference. My name is Ruslan Desyatnikov, founder and CEO of QA Mentor. Very excited to be here. It's a fantastic event. I always like gathering of our testing community. A lot of great speakers today, a lot of interesting topics today, which you guys will learn, and you'll come back to your place of work with a lot of knowledge, a lot of backup knowledge. So today, specifically, I wanted to cover a topic around latest trends and innovative solutions on the market, specifically around quality assurance and testing space. What is the hot tools out there? What are the hot innovative solutions out there, right? We're hearing a lot of interesting things about artificial intelligence and implementations and building artificial intelligence within the automation tools and solutions, but how it's really converts and how it's add value to us, to our quality assurance and testing professionals. So let's start from the beginning. So let's take a software development life cycle, right? A very simple thing. We're gonna go over through all the stages and see what really is out there, which is extremely important, and what is not implemented by many organizations and not mature in terms of the best practices and what quality assurance professionals should really apply when it comes to controlling software development lifecycle, software test lifecycle, and positioning ourselves as a quality assurance professionals and integrating ourselves into the Scrum Agile teams, right, or DevOps operations. So we're starting with inceptions, right? Requirements gathering phase, definition of the requirements. Let's talk Agile here. So user stories, right? There's user stories created by business analysts, product owners, whoever, doesn't really matter. And what are we going to do with the user stories, right? We take the user stories, we try to understand what is getting implemented there, but at the same time, we, as a quality assurance engineers, testers, analysts, we're trying to convert that user stories into detail level test case, right? That's sort of a typical process, typical technique, nothing new, right? But the question is, should you really start converting user story into the test cases, or first you should really start challenging that user story to make sure that the user story captures all of their details, all of the acceptance criteria, all of this declaration and business rules and field validations and various of different exceptions flows, right? Very often we take the user story as a Bible and run with it. And developers do the same thing. They take the user stories, start building, coding, implementing the functionalities. But what is missing out there is challenging back on that user story. Challenging in terms of, is that user story fully documented and contains all of the details where developers will not be guessing how it's supposed to look or how it's supposed to work, where the testing professional will not guess what's the acceptance criteria are, what's the expected results are, what's the field validation rules are, what's the error messages are, right? We need to learn to challenge back the user stories. We need to learn how to critique user stories. This is what is missing. It's been missing for years, and it's continuously to be missing. So in my opinion, it's extremely important for quality assurance professionals and for our internal community to be cognizant about static testing. Okay, I keep mentioning static testing in various of different forums and different articles and interviews, but I feel very puzzled when quality assurance testing professionals does not really think that static testing is really important aspect and really need to be integrated within overall software development lifecycle or software test lifecycle. So the emphasis of the static testing nowadays is crucial because so many projects fails because of improperly implementation of the requirements. So you can build the system, you can build quality system without defects, but you can build system which not really representing business requirements and user expectations. That's extremely, extremely important. So achieving a quality on a system does not really guarantee success of the product on the market. You absolutely need to be able to understand that the requirements which needs to be implemented adheres to business expectations and customer expectations. So static testing at the inception, at the level where you have, whether you have a discussions or grooming sessions or whatever meetings you call where requirements are getting vetted or discussed or initiated, this is where quality assurance professionals needs to step in and raise your voice and sometimes raise a red flag in case you not satisfied with the properly captured requirements, right? The whole mess really starts with the improperly defined requirements, incorrect implementation, which is documented as part of the user stories. Nobody is challenging back. Why? People taking this for granted. They go and run with it. And that's a big mistake right there, okay? So in order to avoid very expensive redesigns or redevelopment, we have to slow down at the requirements gathering phase and really take a step back and say, is my requirement, is my user story is complete and comprehensive? Will developer understand what needs to be implemented? Is everything, all the alternative flows, all the exceptions, all the business rules are defined? If all the acceptance criteria and expected results are defined? If not, let's challenge it back. Let's make sure that the requirements are captured the right way. So the static testing is the big pain point nowadays because not many organizations implementing this, and a lot of companies are suffering to release products which are not ready for the market, and they're not ready for the market because they're not implemented properly. Okay, so one aspect, static testing, right? We quality assurance professionals can control that. Anybody part of the Scrum team can control that. So, but from our perspective, as we are blended into the agile teams, into the Scrum team, we no longer call ourselves an unbiased, independent quality assurance organization or practice or department, right? Because nowadays we are part of the Scrum team. We still need to wear that independent hat and challenge requirements back and say, guys, we need to improve this area. We need to document those exceptional flows. We need to document those additional validation rules, right? So please, don't be shy. Raise red flags, complain, challenge back on the requirements. Requirements are the fundamental success of your product and success of the customer satisfactions and client satisfactions. Okay, so let's move on to the next stages. So design, coding, right? Starting. What are the challenges out there when it comes to quality assurance professionals? The challenges are there that quality assurance professionals, even though they're supposed to be part of all of these technical discussions, especially during the agile implementation, during the Scrum team interaction, but testers somehow avoid those discussions because they feel, for the most part, it's too technical for them. But that's where the problem is. Nothing should be technical for a tester. Tester should not be a person who can only test UI of the application, who can enter dummy data, click buttons, go through screens, and call this a testing. You need to understand the architecture. You need to understand the architecture behind every application. You got to be like a technician. You might not be able to fix the car, right? But you would be able to figure out what the problem is, why the car is not running, why the engine is not running, why its transmission is not shifting, right? What is the problem? Why the car is not starting? You can open the hood of the car and you should be able to understand various of different parts within the car. You might not understand everything what is inside the engine up to a little bolt there, but you need to understand how the components of the car works together. So the big missing piece of the puzzle from the quality assurance professionals is that they're afraid to get into the technical discussions. They're afraid to really look into the architecture and the design of the application. And that's the fundamental aspect of success of your testing. You need to understand holistically what the system looks like. You need to understand all the integration points, upstream, downstream systems, what flows where in terms of the data, what comes where and goes where, right? You need to understand all of this in order to test application properly from the end-to-end perspectives. So please be active in those discussions. Don't be scared and afraid to be part of those discussions. I'm participating in a lot of meetings with clients in those technical discussions, and I see how the testers are behaving. They're very shy, they kind of very quiet, they're afraid to ask questions. No, guys, don't be shy. This is the time to learn to ask the questions. There is no wrong questions to be asked during those meetings, during those discussions. It's extremely, extremely important to be vocal about certain things. And we got to constantly challenge things, right? We should not take things for granted. This is what's happening out there. Testers take things for granted. They don't like to challenge things. They take this as a Bible and they follow this Bible. And very often this Bible is not really accurate Bible. You got to challenge. It's not a constitution which you have to follow everything. Certain things can be incorrect, and we can correct this. We can correct this at the earliest stages, because later on, if we miss certain things at the earliest stages, it will become extremely expensive and costly. It will lead to the redesign, redeveloping, retesting, redeployment. It costs tremendous amount of money, right? I mean, we all know it's not a new thing that fixing defects at the earliest stage, it's cheap, right? And it's not that expensive. So please challenge at those meetings, at those levels, please challenge. Now, let's talk about how can we control quality coming from the development side, right? So what are the, gates which we can implement throughout the software development life cycles or software test life cycles, right? So developers are typically doing unit tests, which is perfectly fine, and they claiming they're doing it very well. They're claiming they're doing code reviews very well as well, right? But at the end of the day, some reason we still see a lot of issues and a lot of problems. The issue is that developers are completely ending up out of time all the time for the most part. Everybody rushing, everybody trying to complete things, which, from day one of the sprint, people feel that they're falling behind already. From the first hour of the sprint, people feeling they're falling behind. So the question is where to get time for doing a proper validations, where the developers can get time to do a proper unit test, code reviews. Those extremely important areas are either not done properly or done halfway, or in some cases not done at all, right? And there is a big impact on quality when those specific, mandatory validations are not done and not complete. So where the quality assurance testers can come in place and influence that, the code reviews are done, the unit tests are done. This is where quality assurance testers or engineers needs to request for unit test results, right? For code reviews results, for static code analysis, if developers are writing static code analysis or dynamic code analysis tools, right? All of this needs to take place because it's mandatory in order to bake quality from the beginning. We still see in many organizations a QA as a gatekeeper of quality, and that's not how it's supposed to be. Nowadays, it's totally different thing. As you all know, quality is responsibility of the entire team. It's no longer quality assurance team is saving the day or a gatekeeper by catching the ball and not missing the ball. Analogy in a soccer, for instance, right? Yeah, the testing team is still at the last resort of testing, doing usability testing, doing the user acceptance testing as a final area, and prior to that, integration testing, system integration testing, compatibility testing, performance security, and accessibility, and many others, right? Important areas. But in order to bake the quality, in order to produce quality deliverables coming from the development side, quality assurance testing professionals need to put the gates and checkpoints at the design level, at the coding level, and demand and request developers to showcase some evidences of the self-validation. And self-validation, it's coming in the form of unit tests, code coverages, and the code reviews, right? And the code reviews is not done, oh, okay, come here, developer A, take a look, I just finished coding this particular user stories. And they look at it, yeah, it looks nice, good, check mark. You're not doing a check marks for your management team, right? You have to do it the proper way. And if you don't have time for this proper way, you have to request the time. You have to build this time in, right? Why are we coming with estimations, right? Why we constantly underestimating certain things? We should be able to estimate, right? And if we just have a lot of things on our plate, we have to push back. That's what you need to do. Scrum masters, product owners need to be alerted, right? Collectively, we need to be successful in delivering quality product, right? Yes, everybody rushing to release software out the door. Everybody wants increased velocity, increased speed, time to market. This is all known for a long time, but let's slow down in order to deliver quality and control quality and be able to produce quality from the inception, from the requirements, right? Because it's a domino effect. You start with the poorly defined requirements, you start coding and jumping in because you're rushing, you have the deadlines for the first user story, for the first sprint. Developers don't have time to do unit tests, static code analysis, code reviews. They throwing the code into testing environment to start testing. And then everybody say, well, but let's implement pipeline, right? CI/CD pipeline. Let's implement that and it will save the world. It will save the day, right? No, no automation, no CI/CD pipeline will not save the world. We have to be disciplined to do what we always did before Agile, before DevOps, long time back during the traditional waterfall methodology. We have to do the right things and we have to do a self-validation. Everybody who is participating in software development lifecycle needs to do self-validation. If we're not doing it, it doesn't matter. It's the Agile, DevOps, you have tons of tools on hands, you're not going to be successful in delivering products. Not from the quality perspective, from the overall adherence to the requirements, building the right product, delivering the right solutions, you will not be able to do that. So take a step back, make sure that throughout the software development lifecycle, all your, not processes, but everything you do as part of the task list, right, is going through the self-validation and verification, okay, before you committing that it's done. Or definition of done. What is the definition of done? We always said definition of done, you know, but without self-validation, nothing is done, right? And you should not rely on quality assurance and testing professionals to make this done or to save the day, you know, during validations. It's starting from the beginning. It's starting from the initial stages, from the requirements, from the user story definition, from the grooming sessions, from the typical concept of what that product should be. Okay. So let's move forward, right? So the next step is, you know, design and development is complete. What we need to do is start testing. So what is important nowadays? API testing, extremely important. This is the area where, again, many organizations are lacking. This is where we can add value. This is where we can start identifying issues and problems at the API level, right? So extremely important to gain that knowledge and learn those skills, right? Whether, you know, you're using the Postman or SOAP UI or JMeter or tons of other tools for the API, you need to learn that. It's not, you know, something which is impossible to learn or something which, you know, a typical tester who testing this without automation tools will not be able to understand and figure out. But it's your ammunition as a modern tester nowadays. You need to be able to test the API layers. Okay. So that's essentially important. But let's talk a little bit about CI/CD pipeline, where everybody think that this is the solution to all the problems in the world, right? Everybody trying to achieve and have the automation implemented throughout the whole life cycle, starting from the unit tests and then having a layer of API level tests and then functional regression automation on top of that, along with performance and security integrated into the pipeline. And magically, you know, everybody thinks, well, by that time, everything is ready, everything is done. No, again, that's another mistake. Everybody dreaming about that pipeline, that it will solve all the problems. What we see in reality, what we see out there, It's definitely not the case, although everybody trying and trying to aim towards implementation of CI/CD pipeline, which covers automation end to end. It's a great desire. It's a great goal to achieve. In some cases, it can be achievable, but it's not easy to achieve. Okay. 85 to 90% of organizations claiming that they can do that, but at the end of the day, it's not really possible to do. So what are the challenges? What are the problems? Why it's not really possible? The first thing is why it's not possible is there is not automation, not enough automation resources. Everybody tried to implement automation. Everybody tried to complete in-sprint automation and consider the sprint done when all the user stories are fully covered through the automation means. But in reality, is not the case. In reality, very rarely you have the situation where you can achieve in-sprint automation. In-sprint automation can be achieved when you have enough resources supporting this in-sprint automation. Very often, there are a couple best case scenario, a couple quality assurance engineers or QA quality testers, part of the Scrum teams or SDATs, and they wearing multiple different hats, from the manual test case creation to manual test case execution to maintenance of the existing automation scripts to building the new scripts for the user stories. Imagine so many different things which needs to take care of and do it in a 2-week sprint. So how can you possibly dream about in-sprint automation? Yes, companies with enough resources, when you have enough resources, part of the Scrum team, Agile team, you would be able to achieve that. But when you have a couple resources only, and you have multiple user stories, and you're constantly behind the schedule, it's almost impossible to achieve any automation. And that's what's happening in various of different companies and organizations. There's not enough automation engineers to support automation, but at the same time, everybody dreaming about this magic automation, which can be incorporated in the CI/CD pipeline, which will magically test your product and your applications. So the world, please wake up, okay? I'm not saying it's not achievable. It is achievable. I seeing a great scenarios, and in some organizations it was properly implemented and achievable. But in those organizations, I noticed several things. Number one, they have very skillful automation engineers and professionals. Typically, those engineers and professionals, they came from the development background. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the ratio of developers to automation engineers or SDATs were proper in the organizations. Okay, so it was 2 to 1, 2 developers to 1 SDATs. Okay, in that ratio, you would be able to keep up. Still not easy, not, you know, to be able to do in sprint automation, but you will be able to keep up. Now, many of you might argue and say, no, it's possible, we did it, we implemented this. Guys, you might implemented this for a small scale of the application, or for not complex sprint, but in reality, based on the historical evaluation, based on various of different projects which we were part of, you know, as the organization, it was not possible. It was not possible to successfully implement automation within the agile environment with limited automation engineers, or where the ratio dev to SDAT was 4-to-1, 5-to-1. It's not absolutely not possible. Okay. So message to you guys who are out there struggling, getting directions from your managers, you absolutely must automate user story in this sprint. Otherwise, we cannot really consider sprint done. We absolutely must do that. Well, yes, we can do that with the proper resources allocation, and the resource allocation should possess very strong coding knowledge. And that's what is out there, right? If you really know coding, you would be able to implement mature automation framework. But here's where my challenge is. Why do we need to be advanced in coding, or why do we need to be at the level of developers in order to build automation, right? We are testers, right? We should have simple tools and solutions which will allow us to test software. Why build a complicated automation scripts and frameworks which only can be done and possible by very mature automation engineers in order to test the product, right? Is it not really making any sense to do that? If I is expert in coding, what am I doing as part of the quality assurance organization, or why I'm an automation engineer? Again, I'm open for pushback where automation engineers said, well, I don't want to be a developer, I love my work. Yes, absolutely. There are some percentage of those out there, but my problem and my challenge is why there is, at this point of time, there is no tool out there which will allow you to do automation much easier and quicker and faster with the less effort. Is there a tool out there? Well, guess what? There are tools out there which falls under scriptless automation category, okay? One of the tools out there is Uipath, okay? I personally learned the Uipath tool 4 months ago. At the time when we acquired one organization in India, very, very interesting company. And they were specifically concentrating around robotics automation. Okay, robotics automation, which is the hottest area nowadays. A lot of companies looking into this area. But the tool which was used for robotics automation was Uipath. And when I looked into this tool and we have a discussion with my partner, I understood that it's a fantastic tool which can really solve a lot of problems and a lot of issues on the market nowadays, where we have lots of quality assurance professionals out there who are afraid to touch the automation tools because they not equipped, they're not ready for coding, they do not possess object-oriented programming skills, and they simply tried before automation, but they never succeeded because you have to be mature enough to implement automation framework the right way in order to really generate revenue on investment, a good ROI, and really achieve a good results. Because automation is not a game. Automation is not a toy just to play and be cool and say, oh, I'm doing automation, look how cool I am. Unfortunately, a lot of us doing automation just for the sake of doing automation. We're not really improving anything. We're not increasing the velocity. We're just playing around with the tools. And at the end of the day, it's not bringing any results. There are a lot of people out there. You can disagree with me. You can say, no, Ruslan, you're absolutely incorrect and you're wrong. We always, achieve a really good results. We're not playing around with the tools. The tools are really helping us. Well, again, I'm judging based on my observations, based on what I see in multiple different organizations around the world, what I see by talking to quality assurance professionals around the world. So back to my point that the market needs easy tools without extensive coding. That's absolutely a need out there. If we really want to be agile, we need to be equipped with those tools. There is absolutely impossible for quality assurance professionals and testers, for everybody to learn Java or C# or Python and be expert in those programming languages and incorporate them into the automation scripts, right? The world will just not see this in the future, that everybody will be gurus in the automation. That's not really necessary. What is necessary is to have tools such as Uipath as part of the arsenal of our inventory, of our ammunition as a tester, and start using it and start implementing this, because my 10-year-old daughter can write scripts in Uipath in no time. So market needs such a tool, which will fall into scriptless automation, which will allow you to really speed up implementation process of the automation scripts without a very huge effort and without knowledge of the programming or scripting or object-oriented principles, right? So that's extremely important to realize. In my opinion, if we will have such a product, we would be able to keep up with the very quick environments, with the 2-week sprints, in sprint automation, and help ourselves to make our lives easy as a testers. I mean, why run hundreds of regression test runs day after day? Because we have multiple deployments per day. Imagine how many times we got to repeat the same tests over and over again because we don't trust implementation or changes or new build or new fixes, because developers might break something and we have to constantly repeating regression test runs over and over again, right? We can go crazy with so many runs, right? But now the question is, why constantly do a complete and full regression testing? That's another area where modern QA professional should understand and should look into, that you should be a smart tester. Smart tester is the criteria of the modern professional QA tester nowadays. You should not test harder, you should test smarter, right? Where is the impact analysis done when it comes to code changes for a given build? Why testers simply, taking what is given to them and start writing regression testing without really assessing and doing a risk-based approach, without talking to the developers and trying to understand the impacted areas, truly impacted areas? If you touch the code in this module, right, and it's only isolated to this, why do you need to test 25 other modules around it if it's completely no interaction with it, right? Waste of time, right? And this is how you're wasting valuable time doing unnecessary things, where you can spend time on doing things which are important for this given sprint or for that given release, right? So things such as impact analysis and risk-based approach, ability to identify best candidates for the regression testing, focused regression testing strategy, expanded regression testing strategy, complete regression testing strategy, and understanding when to do what, extremely important. This is what you guys need to learn and understand, and this is what is missing nowadays. Okay, let's talk a little bit about an interesting area: artificial intelligence and machine learning, right? Those topics, artificial intelligence and machine learning, is extremely important, and in my opinion, it's another buzzwords which are hitting the market, right? Everybody's, saying, oh, here's the tool and it's based on artificial intelligence. Here's the tool is based on machine learning, right? But truly, what are the benefits of it, right? Out of all the tools on the market, there is a platform, there is a company, okay, which I can truly say, and they didn't pay me to say that, right? In my assessments, I'm very unbiased, okay? It doesn't matter, if I don't believe in the product, I will never say any good things about this product, right? If I believe in this product, I would like everybody to try this product and share my knowledge and share my experience with this product, because if I see the value and if you see the benefits, I would like you guys to leverage those benefits. So the interesting company, Curiosity Software, okay? Google it, look it up. Amazing product, what they did. Long time back, I don't remember, 15 years ago, I started my career 23 years ago. But 15 years ago, I was trying to think about this situation. I said to myself, it would be unbelievable if there would be there will be a tool which will do the following. You take a requirements, you take the functional requirements or user specifications. At that time, there's no user stories. There was no terminology such as user story. So you took the functional requirements or solution document or business requirements, and they said, well, it would be great if you put these requirements in some kind of black box. Let's say it's a black box printer or scanner. You put it in, you place the button, and what you will see as the output, you will see the manual test cases coming out of this requirement, right? That would be a magic, right? Putting requirements in, getting the output in the form of the manual test cases in a standard format, right? Typical format. Then take those manual test cases, run them, execute them, but also take them and put them in another box, okay? Another black box or white box, you can call it, whatever box. What will happen is you press the button and those manual test cases will be converted into the automation scripts. You have the automation scripts, magic. You click on it, you run it, you execute it. So then what is the tester's job here? Somebody might challenge me, right? Well, why do we need you if we will have this magic boxes implemented and everything will be done, right? That was my dream back then, 15 years ago, when I started thinking about it. So back to Curiosity Software. They have a very interesting technology and number of products. Modeler is one of them, which It's pretty fascinating. What I just described, where you can get manual test cases generated and created by itself, this is what in practice this tool can do. But it's not magic. It's not putting requirements in some kind of box. This requirements needs to be converted into the flowchart designs. Flowchart nowadays, it's a skill to be able to really understand the application. And, in practice, this is how I personally work. I like to draw diagrams. I like to define and put the flow charts together in order to understand the alternative flows, the exceptional flows, the end-to-end flows of the application. It helps to see a bigger picture, right? So what is happening really is, if you know how to build a flow chart, you would be understanding all the different flows and permutations and possibilities of how the functionalities will flow, how the data will flow throughout the applications. So the magic of this tool is really, if you're defining those flow charts the proper way, and defining those flow charts can be done together with the business analysts, with the product owners, with the developers, right? You would be able to get an unbelievable output from that in the form of test cases, which can be executed. But this is not only that. They actually went more far, where they generated test cases in a format, traditional format, also can be converted into the automation scripts in various of different technologies. Okay, that's what is fascinating. That's what is amazing, and that's what I called true artificial intelligence implementation and built in within the tool. So take a look, research, this tool. I have nothing to do with that company. We're not using that product yet. Although there is a lot of interesting things there, to learn and to implement. So this is just a pointer. Take a look. This is what I call latest trends and latest technological advancements at the testing automation level. This is the level of automation. Apart from that, there is the test data elements there, where you can generate test data on the fly and incorporate this in your automation scripts or the manual test cases, right? Because testing without the proper data is not really a testing, right? You have to be supported with the valid, proper, accurate, production-like data in order to achieve a really good results. So that's another topic. It's another area. The test data generation or creation is also a skill, right? You cannot work with the dummy data. You cannot put the dummy data while you test the application and you test the software. It's extremely important to understand, because for every industry, for every application, different flavors of the application, whether you financial banking application or health application or biotech or energy, there are different data points behind which needs to be used and incorporated as part of the testing, or you would not be able to achieve a great results without the proper data elements. So look into test data management tools. There are a number of tools out there. You have to get into those areas, because that's also a part of quality assurance and testing maturity. Test data element, test data creation, test data generation, test data obfuscation for the compliance purposes. You have to control that. You have to be responsible for it if you consider yourself a modern QA professional. So that's another area which I think it's very, very important nowadays for modern QA professionals. Okay. So let's move into the final stage. Final stage is, how do we measure quality? How do we measure results? How we know that we're doing things the right way, we're completing things the proper way, the quality is there. So let's talk about the metrics. Okay, metrics are extremely, extremely important for the modern QA professionals. Metrics will give you ability to make decisions. Metrics will tell you if you're doing things the right way or incorrect way. Metrics will tell you if you're on the right track. Metrics will tell you if you are falling behind. Metrics will tell you your levels of productivity, if your team is effective and efficient. Metrics will measure your quality. Metrics will measure your defect leakage. So key performance indicators and metrics should be part of the arsenal of the modern quality assurance professionals. So for that reason, there are obviously different KPIs which needs to be measured. Unfortunately, everybody is relying on existing tools, whether it's, Jira, or where it's, test management solutions, where it comes with various of different reporting. But the question is, guys, how do you measure quality, right? What do you use to measure quality? Do you know how to calculate defect leakage, for instance, the proper way, right? Do you monitor the defect leakage? Can you see, for example, for last 5 sprints or 5 releases, what was the average of the defect leakage? Because that's a reflection of your comprehensiveness of the coverage, right? Test efficiency indicator will let you know and let everybody know how successful and effective your test case strategy is, right? In terms of revealing and identifying defects and problems, right? So to become or be a modern quality assurance testing professional, you guys need to be able to understand how to calculate various of different metrics and aspects. Okay. They're really on the market. There is not a single tool which will allow you to generate those KPIs. Once again, you can pull the data from defect management system, test case management system, test management platforms, various of different tools. There's hundreds of tools out there. But the true key performance indicators, not a single tool measures and showcase, right? We try to resolve this problem within our organization with the help of recently acquired company, one step ahead with my partner Swati. We build a product which called Metrics Alert. This product is at their inception right now. You can go and check it out, Metrics Alert. Under no circumstances I'm trying to sell this product. No, you don't need to buy it. You don't need to use it. But I want to emphasize that market, we, IT, need to be able to measure not only quality, but the processes around software development lifecycle effectively in order to be more smarter and make better decisions. So metrics and measuring metrics and understanding metrics throughout the quality process, software test lifecycle, software development lifecycle, extremely important and must be understood by everybody. Measuring defect leakage, understanding productivity measures in order to be predictive or provide estimations, accurate estimations, extremely important. Keeping up with rejection defects and trying to understand why the defects are rejected. Root cause analysis conducted and understanding where and why the defects were created to begin with, where the mistakes were. You know, is it a design error, whether it's a requirements error, whether it's a deployment error, whether it's a configuration error, right? We got to provide that feedback back to developers so they can learn and improve and get better. So the aspect of metrics, extremely important. So guys, you know, feel free to check out metricsalert.com, that product. Again, we just released this. Primarily, this product only works with Jira at Zephyr right now. But you can learn a lot in terms of what can be measured, okay? You don't need to use this product, as I said. You can measure this using the macros or using the formulas in a spreadsheet, but you gotta be able to measure quality and learn how to do it, right? Very often during the interview, I asking a question: how do you measure quality success? How do you measure your personal success as a tester? Nobody can answer this question. Not many people can answer this question. So I'm asking, you know, do you measure defect leakage? And they said, well, we're not measuring defect leakage, but do you understand the importance of defect leakage? Yes, we understand, but why are you not measuring defect leakage, right? That's extremely important. So all of those aspects are there. So let's just, we're running out of time a little bit. Let's just conclude, you know, innovative areas which are out there, which you should really look into it. Let's just summarize once again. Outside of the tooling, static testing, learning how to critique requirements and the user stories. It's a skill and it's a unbelievable value add to the requirements gathering function. You need to learn it. You need to know how to do it. You need to challenge back the requirements. You need to raise a red flag. You should not take requirements for granted and take it as a Bible and just follow it and, you know, not challenge it back. This is not the right thing as a quality assurance professional. The other aspects, extremely important to learn the API, okay? API aspects, API automation, how to test the API layer. This is a must, okay? As a modern professional QA, you need to pick up that skill, okay? It's much easier and simpler than, you know, doing a traditional automation. There are a number of tools, very simple, easy tools to use that. You got to gain that knowledge. It's extremely hot and important. Almost every company, because everything is, you know, integrated through the API, right? So it's extremely important area, and you guys need to look into this. Automation, right? How to speed up the regression testing cycles, how to be effective, how to be quick and fast, and what tools you need to be armed with. Again, look at the scriptless automation tools, number of tools out there. My hint, and again, my choice as a product, as a tool, is Uipath. It's fantastic scriptless automation tool, very easy to use, very intuitive, self-explanatory, really does not take a long time to get you up to speed, and you can learn and pick this up very quickly. So look just look and explore this. It's not the open source tool, it's a paid tool, but the ROI is magnificent. Okay. Test data management tools, right? Out there, the number of tools out there, very important area. You need to learn how to generate data, how to create synthetic data, how to integrate this data layer and incorporate this with the automation, because it's you need to feed data into your scripts, right? And the data layer extremely important. Look into the truly AI integrated solutions, and again, Curiosity Software is one of them, which personally I think they achieve such a great advancements on the market, and it's worth to look at this tool. The other areas which outside of the tooling. So again, testing and be able to support machine learning and artificial intelligence doesn't mean you have to be armed with artificial intelligence tools. You can still do and support those areas through the manual means, through the manual testing, right, and functional testing. Definitely automation will be essential and will be a good ammunition for you to achieve good results on this. But machine learning, artificial intelligence products can be tested without the automation tools. So don't be confused. Don't think that in order to test, those products or platforms with the AI or machine learning, you need tools. No, you can do it without tools, right? So don't be confused with that. Big data, right? Very important area. ETL layers testing. Very important areas. A lot of companies looking into this. This is something very important to get into and to learn. Okay. Modern QA professionals should possess those skills and should be able to support, the big data projects, ETL layers, data warehouses. It's, very common out there. And there is a lot of interesting information which you can learn on the web, as well as there's a number of trainings available around, offered by various of different training institutions. Absolutely must have skill. Internet of Things. Okay, nowadays a lot of companies implementing or integrating with the Internet of Things, right? Testing Internet of Things, it's a special strategy, special methodology for this, right? You have to be equipped. You have to be ready for it, right? More and more products, more and more innovative products hitting the market where you need to learn how to do it. Imagine doing stress and performance testing for Internet of Things products, how to do it, pretty complex. Security testing for those products, pretty complex, right? But let's start with the basics, how to do a typical validation and verification and certifications of Internet of Things products. Extremely important, guys. Again, we can talk on and on. There's a lot of latest trends on the market. The interesting things, those latest trends keep repeating year after year. So to me, it's no longer latest trends, right? It's just a repetitive, DevOps latest trend, right? But that's a buzzword to me. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, still buzzwords, but you need to be equipped and understand the strategy and methodology behind to test this. So final comments, guys. Testing is evolving. Testing, not the same as it used to be before. testing now possess more intelligence in it. And intelligence comes with the right strategies, right? We gotta test smarter. In order to test smarter, we gotta be owning the product knowledge. We're gonna gain the product knowledge. We gotta be the business expert of that subject matter expertise behind the product, right? That's extremely important. We cannot be any more testers who will be clicking the buttons, entering the dummy data, and finding cosmetic issues, stating that we are testers. This is not the testing job, okay? Try to, be a smart tester. Try to evaluate requirements the way I explained early on through the static testing techniques, through the challenging to identifications of the gaps and problems, okay? Be smart in your evaluation when it comes to regression testing, impact analysis, risk-based approach, your test data strategy, your automation strategy of what needs to be automated, because not everything needs to be automated. And be armed with the tools such as scriptless tools, which will allow you to be much quicker and faster. Those tools really helping tools. The tools which are based on heavy lifting programming and scripting, well, if you can learn this, you might be very successful with it, but we will still have this situation. We will still have the situation in the market where truly maybe 10% of all quality assurance professionals truly understand automation and the scripting and the programming behind this, right? So for that reason, my opinion is learn scriptless automation tools and solutions, which will allow you to be agile, okay? Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. You can reach me out, contact me on LinkedIn, shoot me an email, shoot me a message, any questions you might have. I'm always there for you, answering any questions. Again, my answers are always, honest and unbiased. I like to paint, black and white picture. I'm not trying to paint only white picture or rosy picture. It is what it is. You need to understand the reality, and you need to understand the proper challenges which are there on the market. Thank you very much, guys, and enjoy remaining sessions of the day, and good luck to you in achieving a superior quality on your products. And the most important thing is you need to make your products which you test successful, and you can do this through smart testing. Thank you very much, guys, and best of luck. Stay safe, guys.